What's up, everybody? Yeah, sorry, I had some technical difficulties. Can everybody hear me? Hopefully you guys can. Let me know what's going on. Give me a thumbs up. Yeah, I just had some technical difficulties. Sorry about that. I was trying to go on my computer, and then I remember what happened last time with the computer, and I'm still trying to figure out. So hopefully you guys can hear me. Hopefully my power is up. If not, I'm gonna have to figure something out. But you good? Can you hear me? Everybody can hear me, right? I don't know where my comments are. I'm checking here. La la la. Okay, there's people coming in. All right, cool. All right. Like I said before, I was trying to get my stuff in order and all that good stuff, and yeah, so no, thank you. Thumbs up, everybody's giving me thumbs up. Good. Well, hey, Panita, Nanisa, what's not okay? Kasey Nicholson, na sihina. Ninana, all ni. I'm also Blackfeet, Cree Crow, Arapaho, Alaska Native, and all that good stuff. I come from Billings, Montana. If you guys didn't know where I'm from or where I'm living, I am from Fort Blount Reservation, all the way that way. And I'm happy to be here today with you all, sharing with you guys what I think is a very, very important topic that we can all benefit from, whether we are hearing from another person's story, my story, or your own story. I think it's very beneficial that we kind of discuss these things, because I think this particular topic that we're going to be discussing, a lot of people might feel like they're alone in this journey. A lot of people might feel like they don't know what to do in this journey. And especially in today's times, we have a lot of, I don't know, you call it what it is, chaos. We have a lot of chaos going on in this world. And we always had chaos. But like a celebrity said, it's always been there, but now we're just filming it. And that's from racism to violence to poor leadership to, it could be anything and everything. Abuse, everything. It could be anything. So when we watch this stuff, when we watch what's going on in the world, because now we have access to all this media, this social networking stuff. We have all these like TV and radio and all in the internet, we have all these things, and whether you like it or not, we're being affected inside by something within ourselves, right? And we have this internal reaction, physiological, chemical, whatever you want to call it. We have this reaction to the stresses that are going on in the world today. And I figured and I thought, what can I present on for my next power hour? I was really thinking, what can I do? And I wanted to make it impactful, Yeah, I love doing comedy. I love making people laugh. But at the same time, there's a real side of me, which is also humor, but there's that human part of me where I don't like to laugh about everything. I don't like to make fun of everything. I don't like to sit down. I sometimes have to get inside myself, inside me, and check in with me, right? We have to check in with ourselves. And sometimes we feel like, at times we don't know what we're doing. We don't know where this world is going to go. We don't know what's going to happen next. I just had a buddy, a long friend time buddy, who just passed away unexpectedly, I think. And I just heard about it today. And it shook me, you get that little feeling inside your nasal cavity and the tear ducts, and you kind of whoa, whoa, wait, what happened there, and it being in, feeling that, letting myself feel that, letting myself understand what was going on with that emotion, what was going on with that feeling that I was feeling, what was going on. And so, I've always been the person that would always observe and look at everybody and see how they're feeling, because I'm an only child. And from my mom, but I have numerous brothers and sisters from my dad's side. But I'm an only child from my mom, grew up with my mom, and I've always been that kid that kind of just stood back and looked around and observed a lot of the time, which a lot of you guys probably did as well. But when I had something to say, I would bottle it in, you know. Imagine feeling something and not knowing how to express it. Imagine going through something and not knowing how to deal with it. Imagine going through a hard time in your life and not knowing how to cope with it. And then you internalize it, you push it down, you stuff it down. And then you go on with life thinking everything is normal and happy. And as you go on with your normal life and you think is normal life and whatever you might be going through, as you kind of keep getting introduced to these traumatic experiences, these hard life challenges, you keep looking at it, they keep feeding into your brain, into your heart, into your spirit. And you keep pulling down, no, I'm okay. No, I'm okay. No, I'm okay. No, I'm okay. You keep going through all these things, you know. And this is what the part of the presentation today is about anxiety, the energy that we feed ourselves. And I want to tell you that it's like someone putting a bowl of something in front of you, and you deciding whether you want to use that or not use it is up to you. You end up putting your little spoon into this energy, into this anxiety bowl, and then you end up feeding yourself. Because that's the way you know how to cope. That's the way you know how to deal with things. Is through anxiety. That's the energy we feed ourselves. Yeah, it's out there. The energy, like there's good energy. There's negative energy. There's happy energy. There's all types of energy going on out there in this world today. But what we focus on, what we do with this energy is totally really up to us if we know how to do what we need to do with that energy, right? We really don't know sometimes, especially as I know indigenous people, what do we do with this energy that we have? Because at some time, we've lost connection with prayer, you know, with the higher powers, with Mother Nature, you know. We get so consumed into all this media hype. We get so consumed into the political hype. We get so consumed into the protests and the violence and the racism. We get so consumed into that, we forget to step back and realize I don't have to feed myself this anxiety. I do not have to feed myself this hurt and this pain. We don't have to. Now, the hurt and the pain is there. Granted, we do. It's there. It's a feeling. It's an emotion that we have. It's there. But how we feed ourselves that, like, do we need to continue to feed ourselves? Because a lot of us, we will look for it. So back to my story is as I was going through, stuffing feelings down, stuffing all these things down in my life, realizing, I did not know how to cope with the things I was going through in life. I did not know how to do that stuff. The only thing I knew how to do was go into that bowl, feed myself, gulp it, and stuff it down. Feed it. Death. I'm okay. Abuse. I'm okay. All this anxiety, this hurt, this fear, this pain, all this resentment, this neglect, this whatever we might be going through in life, just feeding myself, and just like, that's how I knew how to survive, that's really all I knew how to survive was just to eat it, stuff it. So I went through a lot of my life, doing these things, because I was feeding my life, I was feeding myself this, and I thought everything was fine. I really did. I really thought everything was good, I graduated from high school, as a pretty okay basketball player. I had dreams and ambitions to do other things in life, and went to college, graduated my BS, not that kind of BS, but the Bachelorette of Science in Health and Human Development, focusing in family science. And, everything was fine. I was doing everything, and I ended up going to my master's, got my master's program, and I got through all that stuff. Or I didn't go through all that stuff, but I was getting through all this stuff. As I was working at a particular location, one day I felt, and I'm referring back to this, is one day I was working out, I was sprinting, because I was getting kind of chubby. Because that's kind of how I dealt with my anxieties, right? We all do. We all deal with our anxieties and our stress by eating. So I was eating a lot as well. And I was running anyways. I was like, I didn't want to get chubby. So I was like, that's a energy I'm feeding myself. I don't want to get chubby. I'm stressing out about getting chubby. So I was at a track. I'm pretty sure it was at a track. And I was running and I started sprinting like, really fast, about like Usain Bolt style. Hey, I'm just joking. But I was really running and I felt a cramp. My left calf was cramping. And I'm like, whoa, that's kind of weird because I've never cramped. Throughout my high school career, I've never cramped in my calves. I think I might have got a cramp in my hammy, back in the back of your leg. Those ones that wake you up and you're trying to stretch, and it cramps you, but this one was in my calf. And I was like, man, that's weird, that's really, really odd, and we'll come back to the story of that, why I was cramping. And I don't know, during this time and around this time, I was in golfing as well. So one day I went out golfing. And I hit a shot and I felt weird, I felt really, really weird about what was going on. Like my body was doing something weird that I've never experienced before in my life. And I couldn't really breathe, When you have anxiety, you couldn't really, that's I think was what it was at the time. It was like, whoa, that's kind of weird. I can't breathe. Like what's going on? Oh, anyways, I kind of was trying to shake it off, I was getting shaky. It was warm that day. I was kind of sweating, but I shouldn't have been sweating that much. I wasn't like pouring, but I was like sweating. I was like, "Ooh, that's kind of weird, man. What's going on, man? So I kept going through the golf. I kept doing my round, and I got towards the end, and at this time, my heart was like, I don't know if it was palpitating. I don't know. It was kind of racing, And I was just like, oh man, why is my heart going kind of fast? Like it shouldn't be going this fast, And I loaded up all my golf stuff into my truck. I got into my truck and I started heading out. And I was going down the road. There's a Shopko right around that area. I was pulled right into that Shopko area, and I was just like, oh, what's going on? And I started feeling tingly, I started feeling tingly, and I'm like, whoa, what's going on? And I started doing this, like, oh, what's going on? And my mind is racing. It's going now. Because you guys don't know what was going on, I was in a job that I didn't really particularly care for. I loved the people I worked for, but at the time, I didn't really deal with the stresses of that job effectively as I was going through it. And I just kept, I didn't feel like I had a voice. I felt like I didn't have anybody to go to. Even though I had tons of people to go to, my mind fought the fact that I can just go and talk to somebody. And I didn't. I just stuffed it. I just kept feeding myself this energy, this anxiety energy, I kept feeding this energy of anxiety over and over and over. It's okay. I'm okay. I'm scared. I'm uncertain. I'm all these things. I kept feeding myself and not knowing how to deal with all the stuff that I was going through at work. And probably family life and school life and all these other things in life that I've had throughout the years, And I was, I don't know, maybe 25, 6, I don't know, ish. And as I was going through that, and I was sitting there, and I was like, what's going on at the Shopko parking lot? I was going, what's going on? Really nervous, and my arm started kind of feeling tight. And, you hear the common symptoms of it, racing heart, sweating, can't breathe, tight arm, holy cow. I think I'm having a heart attack, right? That's the first thing that comes to my mind. And I'm like, oh my God, no, Kasey. And in my mind, like the good side of me, the coping side of me was like, nope, Kasey, you're fine, you're okay. The irrational, scared, fearful, hurt little kid, whatever may have been in there, was like, no, Kasey, no, you're having something. This is not good. You're not gonna be okay. You're not gonna get through this. You're not gonna be fine. Go somewhere. You gotta help someone. There's a hospital right down the block. I'm like. The good rational Kasey was like, no, you're good. Don't worry about it. If you go, we're going to have hospital bills. Don't go. You're fine. Just breathe through it. You're fine. No, Kasey, you got to go. I'll give you a hint on who won while I was sitting in the hospital, right? So the irrational Kasey won on that argument. So I went to the hospital and I got there, and they're like, how can I help you? And I'm like, I don't know what's going on, I'm just feeling tingly, and they're like, okay, well, we'll be with you in a minute. I'm like, what? How come you're not taking me right now? Like, what's going on? Or like, and they're like, no, just sit down, fill out the form, and, blah, blah. And so they always want you to do paperwork, even though if you had like no arms, you're bleeding out of your head, they still want you to do paperwork. And I'm sitting there, and so I did it, and I'm still trying. My heart is still racing, and my mind is still going, like, something's going on, something's wrong, I don't know what's going on. And I'm sitting there, and I'm like, what's going on, And as the doctor came in, I think it was a nurse practitioner or somebody came in, and they sat me down. They attached me to everything, they attached me to like these electrode things. They were checking my heart. They were checking my blood pressure, and I remember they checked my blood pressure and that squeeze thing, and I think I still have anxiety over that, but I'll tell you that here in a little bit. But kind of remind me if you can. But they put the arm cuff on me, and they, then I see my heart, and I was laying there, and my heartbeat was like 120, 122. That's not extremely fast, but I was just laying there. I was just sitting there, and I was trying to take my breath. And I was trying to do what I could, and I was just like, what's going on? They're like, oh, your blood pressure is kind of high, and your heart rate's kind of high. And, oh, okay. And I'm just like, like, oh my God, what's going on? And as I'm going through this, like my mind is still racing, my heart, my body is still going through all these emotions and this chaotic thing that's happening in my body. The doctor comes in and says, what's going on? And I was like, I don't know. I was golfing. I did all these things, and I felt these symptoms, and I felt this, and I decided to come over just in case, And he's like, she was like, what else is going on in your life? And as soon as she said, what else is going on in your life, I took that as a freaking like green flag on a NASCAR race car, and I freaking floored that. I took full advantage of what to tell her, what was going on. This stranger, I told her, I said, this is what's going on. Like I sound like an auctioneer. Like I was just going for it. And I told her, and I got done. And she's like, holy cow, no wonder you're having an anxiety attack or a panic attack, as they would call it. And I'm like, what? I don't have a panic attack. I'm a counselor. I cannot have a panic attack. What are you talking about? She's like, it's a common symptom that you're going through right now. Seems like there's a lot on your plate. Your heart is racing, you're tense, And I said, well, what about my arm? What about my arm? She's like, well, that's a common symptom because, you're getting really tense and a lot of things are going on in life. I'm just like, holy cow. And so, she did all these things, and she tested it. She did blood work, and she found one thing, that my potassium was low. And then that reminded me, like, oh my God, that's why I was cramping that one day, when I was sprinting. My potassium was low. And then some of you guys don't know, when you're going through anxiety, you're going through stress, your stress hormones and all these cortisol and all these things that are going on in your life or in your body, physiological, they reduce a lot of your electrolytes, right? They reduce a lot of things that are going on in your life and in your body, like magnesium, potassium, sodium. They reduce your electrolytes because you are so tight or because you're so stressed. And maybe that's what was happening. I don't know. Maybe I wasn't replenishing my body with enough electrolytes. And because of stress, maybe because of diet, whatever else was going on in my life. And I was sitting there, I'm like, oh my God, okay, that's probably why he cramped up, okay. And then she gave me these big old horse pills of like potassium, you could barely like get it down. Some of those people where you have to actually have to like throw your neck back to throw it. I never was able to I'm okay with taking pills, like vitamins, I'm fine. I don't have to go, but this horse pill, I had to. I was like, I had to, because I had to like give it momentum to get down. But anyways, and then she also referred me to a specialist, cardiac specialist or cardiologist or whatever. And so what happened there was, she said, okay, I'm gonna do this. You're gonna go there. They're gonna do all these. They're gonna do a stress test, and for a peace of mind, right? Just for a peace of mind, I'm like, oh, okay, cool, all right. That probably would help. I just want to make everything sure, everything is clear, everything is good with your heart. I'm like, okay. But in my mind, when I went back home, my mind was still stuck with the energy that I was feeding myself of negative thinking, of it thinking that my mind and my body were not okay. my mind and my body were not okay. And I kept feeding this energy of like, you're not okay, you're not okay, you're not okay. And I would try to go to sleep and I'd feel my heart race. I'm like, I'm not okay, I'm not okay. And again, I'd get shaky again, I'd get sweaty again. All these negative thoughts would come into my mind. I'm just like, man, what's going on? What's going on? You know, like, holy cow, you know, and I can't breathe. And I'd wake up in the middle of the night and I have like 2 hours and I'd always check my pulse. I would always check my pulse, like, you know, like, I'd always check and make sure everything is just fine, you know, and like my heart is like, is my heart supposed to be going at 90 miles an hour? 90 beats per minute if I'm just sitting here? Like, what's going on? And my heart rate was going up and down throughout these times, you know. And I think it was maybe a week later, I had my stress test scheduled. And I went there and I put before the whole stress thing too, before the whole anxiety attack and everything, I was getting my my blood pressure checked a lot, you know, just because maybe I felt like I wasn't. And every time I would get on the blood pressure machine, it was like high, like to me, it was extremely high. Like, I'm fit, I work out, what's going on? But I remember in my mind, the energy that fed myself saying, you're fearful of this machine. And I'll tell you why I was fearful of the machine, because when I was IHS, I'm not knocking any medical, because we're appreciative of the stuff we have, but we all know about IHS, a lot of people that might be listening to this. But I went in there and I don't know if this doctor was just interning or this doctor was trying to get his hours in, but I went in there and I was healthy. I was like 185, 190, fit as a fiddle, you know, like I could run easy 6-7 minute mile, easy, no problem, you know. And went in there and we checked it, and he checked my heart, or he was checking something, and he's like, oh, you have you're something enlarging on my side of a heart or something like that. And he didn't know. He didn't like send me out for referral. He didn't test. He was just guessing this is what was happening, right? And I'm like, holy cow, like, okay, now something's wrong with me, you know? At that time, at IHS, something was wrong with me. So then I always held on to that. I never let go of it, right? I never just said, okay, everything is fine. I was like, oh, no, I'm healthy. I never believed that. I believed what the doctor said that was wrong with me. And I instilled that, and I fed myself that over and over, like, oh my God, something's wrong. So I think I developed a fear based off of this person's opinions about what he thought might be going on with me. And I carried that with me. So as I was carrying all this, I would check my blood pressure off and on. But before I would check it, I would get this anxiety of getting checked. And of course, guess what happens? When you're tense and you're anxious about your blood pressure being checked, it's high. And then when you know it, when the numbers show it's high, then what happens? I have high blood pressure. So in my mind, I thought I had high blood pressure. The doctors, slapped me on lisinopril or something like that, and a very low dose, and I was on stuff like that. And I felt like I was pretty healthy at that time, but I was still taking this medication. And anyway, so at the time, this doctor said, okay, are you taking any medications? I said, I was taking lisinopril, but, I said, I don't really feel like I need it. And they're like, oh, well, okay, you should be weaning yourself off it, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, oh, okay. Anyways, I got off it for I think 2 weeks after that little episode, of my anxiety attack. And then that week, it was a week, and then I had an anxiety attack, and then another week, I ended up getting the stress test. And, in there, or right before that, or before the checkup, this lady put a blood pressure cuff on me, and in my mind, I'm thinking, oh my gosh, it's going to be high. And I said, don't worry, it's probably going to be high. And I was really convincing her that it was going to be high, right? I was already in my mind. I was defeated already. I was like, it's going to be high. And she checked it, and she said, oh, it's perfect. I'm like, what? She said, yeah, it's perfect. I can't remember. It was 120/78 or something like that. I think I remember that number, 120/78. And I'm like, holy, what? She's like, yeah, you're good. And at that time, I was anxious. At that time, I was kind of being like anxious, and I was just like, huh, okay. And then went to the doctor, and they rechecked all my blood levels again. They had to recheck and everything was good. And guess what was back to normal? My potassium. The big horse pills of potassium that she was giving me, put my potassium levels back to normal. And because my potassium levels are back to normal, guess what else went back to normal? My blood pressure went back to normal. So this whole time that I was kind of going through this whole anxiety stuff about my blood pressure, the energy I was feeding myself, the negative energy that I was feeding myself, saying, I'm not okay. My blood pressure is high. I am not healthy because the doctor told me this, or whatever it may have been, or because I believe that's what the doctor was trying to tell me. And here to come to find out, it was my potassium, and it could have been my magnesium, it could have been my sodium, it could have been it could have been water, it could have been stress. I don't know. It could have been so many factors that this doctor, when I was younger, at a prime time in my life, when I was fit, could have said, you know what, let's check and balance everything, and then before we slap you on and tell you stuff that's wrong with your heart, or slap you on something that, you might have blood pressure, let's test everything first. But he didn't do that. He went right into like, let's medicate you. There's something wrong with you. Let's medicate you. And when they started medicating me, that's when I started feeling like, okay, there is something wrong with me. I am sick, or my heart is sick, or what's going on in my life? I am anxious. Now, what's going on? Oh, please, all these things. Not realizing the doctor or myself didn't do enough research to go into what I could have done to lower my blood pressure. What was going on with my body? Was my magnesium low? Was my potassium low? Was my stress levels low? Was I not praying enough? Was I not exercising enough? Was I not drinking enough water? Was I eating too much salt? I don't know, chips and burgers and fries. I don't know. What was I doing? And I didn't reflect back on what I was doing. I just kept reflecting back on what that doctor was telling me, what those blood pressure readings were telling me, that there was something wrong with me. And I kept feeding myself this negative energy. So I went back to my test, my stress test. I went back to the stress test, and I'm sitting there, and I'm sitting there, and I'm nervous. I don't know what's going on. Hopefully everything's okay. And I got there, and they started. They hooked me up to all these cords again. And they put the blood pressure cuff on me again. They echo, or they, what do they call it? Where you can see inside you. Ultrasound. I think it was an ultrasound. And they ultrasounded my heart, and you could see my heart was real. And they went, okay, we're gonna check this valve. We're gonna check this valve. We checked all the valves, right? Make sure everything was fine. And there was this one valve. It was just cool because everybody thinks it's like that. Like they think it's like that. Like dun, 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 dun. But there's, in this little valve, it looked like a little hand drum. And that's what it sounded like on the sound thing, because you could hear your heart, right? It was dum, 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 dum. And it was like, he's like, man, I was like, whoa, that looks like a dude's hand drum, on a triple beat. I was like, our people know about that beat. Long before this science stuff came out. Before all the science stuff came out, our people knew about that, just. And I was like, wow, that's so cool. I was so pumped, and looking at it, I'm like, in there, okay, your heart looks pretty good. Okay, we're going to get you on the machine, And so I got on the machine. It was a treadmill, right? And so I'm walking, And they said, okay, listen, know, we're going to increase the speed. And then as we increase the speed, we're going to start increasing the incline. And I'm like, okay, cool, and I'm still nervous. They checked it. They're like, okay, it's a little high. It's okay, though. And then, I started walking. They checked again. I think every 2 minutes, I think they were checking it. And every time when I was walking, it was a little high. It wasn't high, but it was a little high. And they said, we're gonna increase the volume up to 2. We're gonna increase the speed up to 6. You just let us know if you're uncomfortable or anything. And if you want to go faster, you can go faster. And I was like, okay, cool. And I remember there was this window right in front of me, on the trail. I was on the treadmill, and there's a window in front of me. And as I started going faster, I went into a zone, like when you run, it's really beneficial for me anyways. I went into the zone. I was like, and I wasn't thinking about nothing. I wasn't doing anything. I just remember that the machine, the treadmill machine. I remember hearing that, and I remember hearing my footsteps. And I just remember that, just and I remember my breath. And I was just kind of breathing, and I was in rhythm. I was like, I was in rhythm. They got the blood pressure, they're checking it, they did all this stuff, and I wasn't really paying attention to them, right? And I got off on that thing, and they said, okay, you're good. We're gonna send out, and they had this long long piece of paper they ripped off. They're like, okay, we're gonna give this to the cardiologist. Just sit on his office, he'll come with you. So I went into the office and I'm sitting there nervous. Like, what are they going to find? What are they going to do? Is everything fine? How's my heart? Oh my gosh, what's going on? Right. Went right back into like anxiety mode. The doctor comes in and he's like, num, 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 just like he does it every day. I don't know. And he comes in, I'm just looking, I just stare at him, like going, as he's staring, and he's looking, he's looking at this piece of paper, right? And he's like, okay. And he said, what is your name? And I was like, Kasey Nicholson. Oh, okay. How old are you? And I can't exactly remember right now. 28, I think I was then. I don't know, somewhere around there. And he's like, okay, and then he looked back at me and he said, "What are you doing in here? What are you doing in here?" And I'm like sitting, I'm like, I'm here to see. And he's like, "No, what are you doing in here?" And I'm like, I don't know what to say. I had an anxiety attack and they sent me here for, what are you doing in here? You're not supposed to be in here. And I'm like, what? Is this the cardiologist. He's like, this ain't the OBGYN, is it? He's like, you are not supposed to be here, my friend. He said, your heart, look at this. And he held up that piece of paper, and you can see all these spikes, I didn't know what it meant. And he's like, your heart is healthy. What is wrong with you? What is going on? What is wrong with you? And I'm like, anxiety. And he's like, hi, my friend. He said, there is nothing wrong with you. He said, you have to believe that everything is fine. What you were going through was anxiety, panic attack. It makes your heart race. It makes you feel these symptoms. And he started naming all these symptoms. I'm like, yeah. Those are the ones. He's like, you have to let them go. They're not for you. You are healthy. There's nothing wrong with you. And I'm just like, but why? Okay, what? And he's like, there is nothing wrong with you. And I'm just like, okay. And he said, I want you to go and get a counselor, and talk these things out, and you'll be fine, my friend. And I'm like, okay, cool. Cardiologist said I'm fine. Doctor said I'm fine. Nurses said I'm fine. Everybody said I'm fine. So I went out. As soon as I left the doctor's office, guess what happened? It came into what if. What if there is something wrong with me and they missed something? Guess what I reverted back to? I reverted right back to feeding myself the energy that got me into anxiety, or that the anxiety energy that I'm feeding to get me into the fear state. Whatever it may be, I was feeding myself again. I was so dependent on that I couldn't get rid of it, even though every one of these professionals said that it was okay. Every one of them said, I'm fine. It's in my head. You're okay, Case. But yeah, I fed myself this negative energy to say, no, you're not. You're not okay, Kasey. There is something wrong with you. And you keep believing that. And so I kept believing that. Got to the counselor's office, sat down. He said, Kasey, what's wrong? And I was like, I don't know. He's like, where do you want to start? Just talk. Just go anywhere. And so I was like, okay. He said, so tell me, what's going on? Again, green flag at the NASCAR Indianapolis 500. I went for it. I went through everything, everything. I went through all my emotions and everything that's been happening to me in this hour and a half. It was only but an hour. And I don't think the counselor got a word in. I was just going. He said, okay, Case, we have to stop. But we're going to reschedule you again for next week. All right, cool. All right, thanks. Shook his hand. Shook his hand. I headed out. Excuse me. I belched. Belched? Anyways, I burped. I left. And I came back the next week, and he said, all right, Case, how are you doing today? What's going on? Checking in. I'm like, oh, everything's good. Are you doing things? So yeah, I'm researching more about anxiety. I'm researching more about panic attacks. Finding out what I can do to eat better and all these things, in this week, and he's, oh, that's good. You're doing really good. He said, well, what else? What's going on? Tell me, And so again, I must have not said everything last time, because then I end up did everything again. He stopped me about halfway through. He said, Kasey, he said, stop. He said, I need you to do something. He said, I think I know what's going on. And And I was like, okay. He's like, go home, and I want you to find a picture of little Kasey. A Kasey at a time that's really innocent at that time. So I'm like, ooh, okay. Okay, sure. And I was really trying to think of a time that I could think of when I was really innocent. So I thought about myself, when I was a little baby, maybe 2 years old, maybe barely any hair, or maybe a time when I had little tiny braids. And I remember seeing that, and how like my smile is really innocent. There's like it was just like someone tells you to smile, right? And you're just like, it's not a developed smile, but you're just like, and I remember that picture, and the counselor said, you're going to go home, you're going to think about this picture, or you're going to look at this picture, and you're going to look at it, and you're going to think about it in your mind. And as you think about it in your mind, you're going to say these words. And when you say these words, come back next week and tell me how that felt. So I was like, okay, cool. So I was sitting there, and I thought about that picture, and I thought about that moment. If I could have thought about any moment at that moment, I had no worries, no stresses, no anxiety, no fear. I was loved. I was cared for. I was picked up when I got hurt. I never talked bad to myself. I never heard negative things about myself. I didn't watch TV that I know of that was, creating chaos in my mind. I wasn't dealing with racial injustices. I wasn't dealing with murders. I wasn't dealing with fear or being scared. I was just living. At that time, I was just living. I was just living a life that I felt was natural to me as a 2-year-old, 3-year-old, how old ever that picture was. I was living that life as that kid without no worries in life. I was a perfect kid. No hurts, no traumas, no nothing. Just loved, cared for, and not being affected by society in a negative way. All I had was my mom. All I had was my mom's friends. All I had was the kids that I played with. And all that I remember was just fun and happiness and everything like that I remember. So I looked at that little kid in my mind, and I said what that counselor told me to say. I said what that counselor told me to say, and that counselor said, say these words and tell me how you feel after you say them. So I closed my eyes, and I said, you're okay. I'm okay. Kasey, you're okay. As soon as I was thinking these words, before the words went through my mind into my vocal cords and out to the world, but I already thought it. And as I was thinking it, my eyes started welling up. I started tearing up, my tear ducts and my little lips were, and I was like about crying. I was just about on the verge of crying. And then I said it. And as soon as I said it, I just released, woof. Tears came out. My hurt came out. My anger came out. My fear came out. All these emotions started coming out in tears, and I started bawling like I was 28 years old-ish. I can't remember exact age, but I was like bawling like, I'm okay. Like I was literally crying like a little baby because I was so hurt. There was so many things, so many negative anxieties, fears, hurt, resentment, everything. I was just feeding myself and stuffing it. You told me what? I believe you. Stuffing it. What? You told me this? I stuffing it. I'm not a good person? Stuffing it. I'm okay? I'm stuffing it. I'm all these negative things. Stuffing. And as I was stuffing all these negative energies, I was busy telling everybody else, you're okay. Everybody else was saying, oh, Kasey, you're okay. Don't worry about it. But there was one person that wasn't telling me that I was okay, right? And you're probably guessing that. It was me. I never told myself that I was okay. I never told myself that I was going to get through this. I never told myself that, Kasey, you're okay. You're fine. Don't worry about it. I was too busy going in my profession and in my schooling and my relationships telling everybody else, you're okay. But I never told myself, you're okay, Kasey. I fed into everything. When someone told me I was okay, I would shrug my shoulders and say, yeah, I'm all right. I don't know. I don't think I'm okay. I'm not really that good of a person. I don't think I'm that good of a person. But I am a good person. But I kept feeding myself like I was trying to convince myself that I wasn't a good person. that I was a negative person, that I did these things in life that were not cool, that were not happy, I was focusing on all the negativity in my life at this particular time, and it all come bubbling up. And I remember when I said that I was okay to myself, to that little Kasey, that innocent little Kasey at the time when I was living a life in innocence, that everything started coming out. Woo, woo, woo. And I remember like, holy cow, I have a lot of work to do. I remember that feeling. I have a lot of work to do. And it's not going to happen in 2 days. It's not going to happen in 2 weeks. It's not going to happen in 2 months. I had no timeline on when it was going to happen. At the time, my wife was, we had a kid, and she was going to law school. We did all these things, and she had to endure all my panic attacks during the time that I was trying to heal. I'd have like a week fine, and all of a sudden, boom, a negative thought would come in, my heart would start racing, and I'd start shaking, and I'd believe that something was wrong with me. And she continued to say, "You're fine, babe, you're fine." I'm like, "No, I'm not, and I'd check my pulse again, I'd check my blood pressure again, I even went around the freaking countries with a freaking portable blood pressure thing, and I still have one, but that's just for almost trying to let go of that, because at times I still have anxiety. At times I still have fear, but I know it's slowly coming out. And like I said, I don't want to just all come out. I want to bring it out. I want to bring it out and kind of understand it as much as I can, But I've made leaps and bounds from where I was to what I am now. The thought is still in there. It's still in there. Like at times I'll find myself I'll catch myself checking my pulse. I'm like, whoa, you don't need to do that. You're fine, Case. I'll sit back and I'm like, whoa, take a deep breath. It's okay. You feel anxious, you feel worried, go for a walk, go for a run, go golf, go do something. Take your mind off it, think about it, process it, deal with it, be with it. It's okay, let it pass. And there's going to probably be another anxiety. There's probably going to be another stress. But it's not affecting me like it affected me before because I'm working at it. And I've worked at it. I mean, I changed from feeding myself this negative energy, feeding myself this anxiety energy, the energy that we feed ourselves, this anxiety. I quit trying to feed myself. I quit feeding myself and replacing it with something positive, like motivational videos, like presenting or talking to people, praying, smudging, hanging out with healthy people, reading and writing and working out. I already said that, but I mean, I've done all these things and I continue to try to do all these things. And like life, I mean, I'm not like perfect, I'm slowly working at it. I'm still kind of overweight and I'm still trying to work at it. And it's kind of these ebb and flows, but the dips are not so much now. It's more like this, it's kind of like, oh, whoa, get back up, whoa, get back up, So like I'm working at it. Before it was like, whoa, there's something wrong with me. We're going to come out here. And I had this big hill to climb. You're okay, you're okay, you're okay, you're okay, you're okay. Oh, this is nice. And anxiety hit again, whoa, way down. But now anxiety hits, it's like, whoa, hey, you're okay. Watch something, you're good, you're fine, pray, fine. You're all right, go for a run. Oh, okay, here we go. And little anxiety, la, la, la. And it's just like this, nice and flowy, Eventually I'd like to be like this, just nice and chill, just nice and chill. As before, it was like, wah, but now it's not, okay? That's kind of my life. That's in terms of anxiety, the energy that I was feeding myself. And we all feed ourselves that, right? We all do that, We know what anxiety is. We really do. We know what anxiety is, and we know what it does to us. It debilitates us. It stops us from doing the things that we love. It creates storm clouds in our minds, thinking nothing is going right for us. Nothing is right. And then if you don't deal with it, and if you don't work at it, if you're not doing anything to combat it, because all these years you've been thinking negative, it's not just going to change just like that. It's going to take a lot of work for years and years maybe. But eventually it's going to get better if you have patience, if you have the know-how, if you have the resources, if you have the coping skills. A lot of people don't have the coping skills. So they continue to feed themselves the negative energy because they don't know how to deal with the negative energy. If there's anything I can stress to each and every one of you that might be listening to this, please, I beg of you, go get help. Go get the resources that you need. Go ask for help. Go run. Go exercise. When you run and exercise or you do something positive outside nature, it creates these endorphins. Take a steamy shower, a bath. Water heals. Drink water. Like, water is so healing to ourselves. Go to a waterfall. Go to a river. Go to a lake. The power of water really heals. There's these things called negative ions. We're not going to really get too much scientifically into it, but go get some water. Pray to that water. Say, please take this anxiety away from me. Pray or wish good things for people and yourself. Take deep breaths. Calm your vagus nerve. Take a deep breath. You have YouTube. You have the internet. Use it for good. Go and look on there for all the motivational videos, all the TED Talks that you can watch, all the beneficial medicines and breathing techniques that you can look on YouTube and all over the internet. Go to your grandmas and your grandpas, your aunties, your uncles that might have already been through this stuff. Come to me. I'll help you as much as I can. I don't know how much I can help you, but I can maybe give you something that might spark a change. I don't know. If there's anything that you guys can do, don't sit with it. Don't just think you can live with it. Because what happens in a lot of our lives, and especially our youth lives, our young ones' lives, there we go. I couldn't even say it. Oh no, that's weird. Brain fart. They are so inside their minds with the hurt, the anxiety, the pain, the destruction, whatever else might be going on. Their brains are fragile. They're young. And sometimes they ain't going to know how to deal with all these things. And anxiety is going to turn into depression. And that depression is going to turn into severe depression. And that severe depression could go anywhere. It could be going to kill somebody or kill themselves. Hurt somebody or hurt themselves. So we have to understand how important anxiety, the energy that we feed ourselves, is. We have to learn how to cope with it. We have the tools and the resources and the necessity. We have everything we need. We just have to be the advocates for ourselves and get up and say, I need help. What can I do? What kind of music can I listen to? What kind of videos can I watch? What can I do to help myself? What kind of resources? This is your life. You only have one life to live. That's it. Only one life. One body, one life, one mind, one heart. That's all you got. Don't wish or want to live in hurt and pain and resentment and misery or anxiety or depression. Choose to not live that way, because if you choose to live with it, that's the energy you're feeding yourself. That's the energy you're going to become. You're going to become that anxious person. You're going to become that depressed person. You're going to become that resentful person. You're going to become that angry person. Become a person that wants to be healthy and lively and prosperous and energetic and helpful and great and feel good all over, inside, every dimension in your life. See that for yourself. Write it down. Make a vision board. Do something. Those are your resources. Those are your coping skills to get through the hard times in life. We're going to go through hard times in life no matter what you guys say or what anybody else says. No, you know what I mean, as if I could speak English. Okay? No matter what happens, we're going to go through. But how we cope with these things, what resources we have, is really going to be pivotal in our healing journey. And remember, I always tell people, you have to move. You really got to move. I mean, that's one of my big presentations all over the country. That's what I do. As a comedian, motivational speaker, wellness speaker, this is one of the biggest things I advocate is moving. M-O-V-E. Motivate. You have to be motivated. Just that one time you have to be motivated. Okay, and I'm going to add another thing to this, and my wife has really been telling me this too, and we discuss it a lot about it too. So first one is move. You have to be motivated. You have to be motivated to change, something in your life, whether it be your weight, your wellness, your mental wellness, your health, whatever it may be, your relationships, your job. You have to be motivated. I mean, that spark, something's going to have to happen. That spark is going to have to happen. Like, boom, I want to do that. Okay, there's that want, there's that need, there's that something inside you that says, I need to change. And I want to change. So you spark it. There's that spoken. Now you got to be open. M-O. You got to be open to that possibility of failure. You got to be open possibility of fear. You got to be open to the possibility of success. You got to be open to the possibility of changing, whatever it may be. Then there's vision. You got to see yourself doing it. You got to really envision yourself, seeing yourself be healthy, be happy, living without anxiety, living without depression, living without, hopefully, debilitating things that keep you inside all the time in your mind and your body, whatever it may be. You have to see yourself being that happy person. That's why we talk about vision boards, See yourself. I mean, write it out, see it. Put it on your wall so you can see it every day. And then E is evolve. You have to evolve into that person you ultimately want to be. We all had dreams, goals, and ambitions. Now we have to actually go through with that. I've always wanted to be a comedian. I always want to be an actor. So I have to move towards that. I'm slowly but surely. I think my wife and some people say you gotta put a little bit more oomph into that step, And I got to get rid of that fear, I really got to get rid of that fear, and I got to move. I got to move into that. I got to get into that evolution stage of becoming that great comic that I want to be. I got to move into that evolution stage where I can be that actor that I've always wanted to be. I'm achieving my goals in terms of motivation and speaking and all that stuff, and I want to become a better motivational speaker as well. But I also want to be a comedian and actor as well. The last letter that I want to put on there is D. Moved. You have to be moved. I guess I'm going to change the slogan. I guess I have to. The last one is D. You have to be disciplined. You have to be disciplined. You're not only motivated, not only open, you don't only see yourself, you don't only start evolving into this person, but now the discipline wraps right back around and says, you know what? You have to discipline yourself to continue to do these things. You have to continue to be motivated. You have to continue to be open. You have to continue to see yourself. You continue to evolve. That's discipline. You have to discipline yourself. You have to get up in the morning. You have to pray. You have to read. You have to, when you go through an anxiety, that's negative energy, you have to be disciplined to say, whoa, wait, I don't need this in my life. This is what I need. Sorry, negative energy, I don't need you. I'm disciplined. Positive energy, how you doing? I'm going to feed myself some positive energy. So moved, M-O-V-E-D. Motivation, openness, vision, evolve, and discipline. And you have to believe, and you have to make it a habit. But all those beautiful things in life. So I'm going to wrap up here pretty soon. I got like 5 minutes. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this. I've enjoyed it. It was good. That was a little bit of my story and kind of the stuff that I fed myself. I wanted to go into like a presentation mode, but I didn't really want to bore you in terms of like, this is anxiety. This is like, we all go through this anxiety stuff. We all go through these personal experiences in terms of what we have in anxiety. And how we deal with them are all different. But one thing is consistent is if we deal with them in a positive way with optimism and hope and belief and prayer and goodness and greatness and positivity and all these things in our life, we can get through anxiety. Not alone, but together. Go to a group, go to a church group, go to a sweat, go to talk to your medicine man, go talk to your friend. It's right there. You don't have to be scared of it. You don't have to worry about it. Your body's going to go through it because you're not dealing a lot with what's happening in your life. The hurt, the pain, the trauma, the stuff that's going on social media, whatever it may be. We're going to feed ourselves anxiety, but what's one thing is that we got to do is it's eventually going to go out. And when it goes out, how are we going to deal with it and how are we going to discard it so that we don't keep continuing to feed ourselves it? I'd rather feed myself some positivity, some goodness, some wellness, some healing. And I always say, from one of the best slogans or best sayings I've heard when I joined Native Wellness was, heal people, hurt people, hurt people. And it's so true. You can pass on this information that you share with the world, with your loved ones, with your little teenager, niece, nephew, son, daughter that might be having a hard time with anxiety. And it could just be minuscule. I don't know how to talk to this girl. Man, this test has really got me somehow. I don't know how to deal with this test. But because you've done your research, because you've done your own journey through your anxiety, now you're able to pass on these tools and resources to the young ones and say, you know what, this test is going to be hard, and that's okay. But how prepared are you for it? Well, I studied all night, I studied all week, I studied all for 2 weeks for it. Well, you're prepared then. What's got you so anxious? I don't want to fail. You're not going to fail. Take a deep breath and believe that you're going to be fine. And believe that, you know what, if you don't pass, it's not the end of the world. It really isn't. It's not. It's a piece of paper testing you on general stuff. It's not going to be the end of the world. It's fine. But I believe in you that you're going to pass that test. I believe that you're going to be okay with this. No matter what happens, son, niece, nephew, whatever it may be. Say, because I went through this anxiety. And I've held on this anxiety. And I've I've been held down. I held myself down. All these things. You go through this anxiety talk with your nieces and nephews, and that's how we build stronger leaders, I guess you'd say. Talking with them, sharing them our experiences with the difficult times we've had and the positive times as well. So I think that's it for me. Yes, it is. So a minute left. Thank you guys for tuning in. You guys are all awesome. I love each and every one of you. I'll be praying for each and every one of you again. Going to actually one of our ceremonies, our people's ceremonies this coming week. So I'll be praying for each and every one of you. Those ones having a hard time of life, those dealing with losses, illnesses, the sicknesses that are going around this country, mental, emotional, physical, all the sicknesses that might be going around, just praying hard for each and every one of you. At the same time, ask you guys to pray for me and my family, and traveling, my kids, if I could ask that of you as well. But I hope and wish that this talk has given you some insight and some hope, to know that you can get through anxiety and to hopefully quit feeding yourself anxiety, the energy that you feed yourself. So I want to thank you guys so much. Take care. Nahaban, we'll see you again. And thank you so much, Native Wellness Institute, for the Power Hour opportunity. Take care and love one another. Be good to one another. Help one another. Hope.